probably pretty obvious, but we've been brothers pretty much our whole lives.
Yeah, pretty much from the day I was born. The day Philip was born. My name's Dominic Rabelais, and we both kind of, I guess I started playing music because Philip was playing music.
Yeah, and my name is Philip Rabelais.
Yeah, I don't know whether I figured you should introduce yourself. but just because, like, Philip would play like on the computer with like little music making programs and stuff like that, or like he had a guitar, and so I started playing like just smashing guitar like on the guitar. It just was like a hobby for like a super long time.
A friend of mine had a program on the computer, and it was really fun to just like mess around with.
Yeah, totally.
And then that led to like buying guitars and keyboards and stuff. And Dom just like came behind me and picked it all up.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I mean, we've both been doing it since we were like 14, 15.
Mm-hmm.
Our first track was pretty, started out as pretty awesomely. We were just like messing around in Philip's room. Like one of my friends came over.
Yeah.
Nathaniel Alexander.
We still never credited
big
the
ups,
song.
Big ups to Nathaniel for he's in a lot of good bands, and so so he came over and we were like just messing around with music, and we like made this like cheesy electro beat and stuff like that. And it was like, oh, we should record like I can see you in the rear view mirror, which probably sounded something like that. And so that's how we recorded that song, and then it's just like, oh, that's a song now.
And that was 2.5 years ago.
And like when you think about it, that song's so badly composed and like so not like in comparison to really like the thought and like the actual knowledge that goes into making songs.
You finally came around to my way of thinking about that song.
I mean, it's still an awesome song. It's still like
No.
it's still
awesome.
It's still really amazingly catchy. Actually,
we've done some stuff that like even now I'm like just embarrassed by.
But
I mean, it's all sort of like when you. It's like when I get into any band, it's like I just like end up reading about their whole career, and like there's like nobody's innocent of doing stupid stuff and stuff that like is actually really funny and actually like a cool sort of beginning story, but like at the time you're like, oh god.
Yeah, it's awesome to hear about bands that you're like obsessed with. Hear about their little like humanizing stories because you're like, oh, they're not constantly geniuses constantly.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no reason why you can't really do something if you want to do it and you really have enough passion to do it. Like there's no reason that you can't just play a show for your friends.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like whilst you might not immediately be like, you can't be like, oh, I want to just start making music and then the next day become like selling out huge concert halls or stuff like that.
That's a big thing, is just understanding that like bridging the gap between like your idea of like being in a band and being successful. It's like that doesn't happen overnight. It never did for anybody, like even in like the 90s and the 60s when people are getting signed by big labels, and especially not now, because the whole thing has just shifted. It started up online as Porno Galactica as like a joke. It actually had a much worse name before that, but it changed to Porno Galactica. It was like, this is a joke, but if somebody finds me, that'd be awesome. And it kind of like happened that way. Like somebody in Iowa City found us and booked us at this festival, which actually just happened. It was the third year we played at it, and we played last weekend.
Mission Creek Festival.
Mission Creek.
Awesome dudes.
So
and it's getting better every year.
It was like a little bit of a novelty to be called Porno Galactica. There was no actual personal meaning. Not that band names have to have personal meaning at all, but
it didn't quite like fit. It didn't quite like fit with our aesthetic.
Especially the way we were sort of transforming. Like now we still use a laptop and we still write a lot of this stuff, like the backbeats and like melodies and stuff with computers. But now Dom plays guitar the whole time, and like I have a keyboard and like I have a couple keyboards and stuff, and it's more of like a live show. The meeting of Dom and I's musical tastes and aesthetic is like I grew up listening to electronic music, like a lot of experimental electronic music and stuff, and then like that stuff like kind of like gets me, and it still does, and it's like and Dom comes from like way more of like punk rock, and so we kind of wanted to like really meet in the middle with those two, and like really write more like songs, which we think we're doing a much better job of now. Anyway, we changed our name to Utopia Park because it's where we grew up in the trailer park Utopia Park in Fairfield, and like really, there's sort of this very like such a cheesy word, but there's sort of like this like magic feeling to like like everybody's youth. There's like that feeling, and growing up in Utopia Park, like there's kind of like this thing that will never die in me of like wanting to like live in Utopia Park again. So, and I think it's the same for both of us. And so that's kind of like what it is. It's like we just that's a much more personal thing, and the music we're making now we feel is like a lot more personal. Although it's still very like upbeat and like you can still definitely like get down to it, but it's sort of in a different way.
We're starting a record label.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
A cassette label. We're going to release just cassettes as physical copies and then make available for free download all the music. So we actually have 3 releases kind of lined up.
Oh.
And we just now, just a second ago, we ordered the cassettes. Yeah, it's going to be called Sweat Power Records. And we just ordered a whole bunch of, we just ordered 100 tapes to dub our first release on. And then once we figure out because this is the first guy we had like know exactly how long each side is going to be, so we ordered those. And then once the other 2, one of us is a Utopia Park EP. So once we figure out exactly how long the Utopia Park EP is going to be and how to divide side A and B, then we'll order those. That's going to be awesome because it's basically just going to be us showing off our friends. And so, like, we've already talked to a whole bunch of our friends, and they're like, and it's nice because each person, when we present them the idea of doing a tape, people kind of have like a different, like the way their brain work kind of comes out. Like people are like, oh, it'd be cool to have a limited edition tape that you like sell a Walkman and headphones and the tape all together of like completely unreleased songs, and it'd be like $35 or something like that for that one thing that you would never hear anywhere else.
Right.
Then other people are like, oh, that'd be awesome. And they'd be like, I'd really like to release some music with you guys, so let's do a split cassette. So those people, like, their brain works very communal.
Such a lie. We didn't win. We stole the award.
You stole the award.
No.
We angrily snatched it from Jefferson County Greenman.
We definitely won it. We just like sent some emails and made Facebook events and stuff like that. And it was just because, in all actuality, when you think about it, like, we only found out about it like a few weeks before voting closed because we were at Cafe Paradiso and there was those signs like Fairfield's best. And so we're like, oh, they won, interesting. So we like went online and found out like what the running was, because it seemed like voting had closed.
First of all, we couldn't believe we were even in it.
What it comes down to is that the people who found out who would know to vote and everything like that were the kind of people who really like Jefferson County Green Band, whereas our fans wouldn't like normally just go online and like vote or really notice like posters in Cafe Paradiso. So in a way, one might theorize that we just made all of our fans aware of the fact that this voting was happening.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, I also just want to say thanks to everybody who comes to the beauty shop or comes to shows in Fairfield, because it's just really nice, because we'd kind of just be doing this no matter what. And yeah, it's just really nice that like people respond. It's nice that people come out.
I was thinking about the beauty shop earlier today, and kind of like idea of it is kind of like the idea of like us kind of like celebrating our own community of musicians and performers and stuff like that, and then bringing in other people from other communities so we can like expand our little and appreciate other communities and stuff like that.
It's been really nice. It's been really nice to bring in our friends' bands and bands from out of town, and like particularly like Iowa City and Ames and Des Moines and like around Iowa, people that we've met over the last couple of years, and been able to bring them to Fairfield and just show them like they like love it. Like a lot, like some of these bands are like my favorite place to play is Fairfield.
Yeah.
And it's just really nice because
it's like people who really deserve to be heard but wouldn't really be heard unless they were like in a few years from now when they're really famous, because they're gonna get famous, these people.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, dude.
Fantastic.
And we're gonna get a coffee maker later, so you can drink out of these cups.
We should get a Fairfield's Best Musical coffee maker.
Yeah, no, we should just write it on the coffee maker.
Man,
that's genius.
That is.